Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not adjust your sets. Yes, we have relocated for the last couple of weeks. I've been in the middle of one of life's probably least favorite little episodes. I've been in the middle of a move, locating from one home to a new home, and so the old studio has been disassembled. The new studio hasn't quite been fully assembled, and it's just been too damn windy here in Grand Prairie to record outdoors. So for this week, we'll be right here in the living room of the new house. So as I sit down to record this, the date is Thursday, October the 20th, 2022. The Edmonton Oilers have just finished up a 5-4 win over the Carolina Hurricanes. Obviously, that's a team that we always like to see the Oilers beat, for reasons that I think would probably be pretty obvious to to any fans of pretty much any term of this team. And it was a win that they did have to go pretty deep into the game to actually lock away. Come to think of it, I think actually the score was 6-4. I forgot about the empty netter from Connor McDavid. And it was a bit of a refreshing change based on what we've already seen this season. And the biggest reason was because, well, unlike some of these previous games, the team actually showed up on time. That just hasn't been the case often enough in this young season. I would say that of the 4 games that the Oilers have played, they probably showed up on time to play 2 games. Most other jobs, if you show up late half of the time, you're not going to make out very well. They're probably going to get rid of you pretty quickly. And unfortunately for the Oilers, this is something that is not actually easily a ready option. Playing in the National Hockey League is not what you would call an ordinary job. These players, they sign these contracts with these teams, and there's all of that guaranteed money on the line. And then basically at that point, barring any, a number of, unusual circumstances, the player and the team, for the most part, they are kind of stuck together. There are a few options available to teams, but outright firing a player is not really one of them. Although there are, under normal circumstances, even with the salary cap, under normal circumstances, there are some options. But unfortunately for the Edmonton Oilers this year, not really so many of them. And the reason for that being is that the team was already so close to the salary cap that they're not even carrying a full complement of players on the team. Let alone do they have the luxury of sending players up and down from the minors at will. Because of the salary cap situation with the Edmonton Oilers, the team that you had on day one is going to be very close to the team that you're going to be stuck with for most of the season. And so basically what that means for a few of these players, it's going to be a good deal more difficult to keep them motivated than it normally would have been under a lot of other circumstances. It's definitely not the way that it should be on an NHL team. But unfortunately, over the last few years, we have definitely seen, our share of players in the Edmonton Oilers organization that have had difficulty, either getting motivated or staying motivated correctly. Brandon Perlini. There's a character that comes to mind, and God, was he ever a character? Last year with his semi-famous "should just be grateful to win" speech at the post-game interviews. Obviously that is entirely the wrong attitude. As a professional hockey player, you can't really think of winning as a noun, something that you're grateful to receive because the other players on the team go and do it for you. You're supposed to think of win as a verb, as something that you go out and do. So Brendan Perlini, he definitely didn't have the right attitude, and he did pay the price. He was sent down to the minors, pretty much stayed there, and this year they didn't re-sign him. Last year, the salary cap situation was a lot better. They had that option. This year, they don't have that option nearly as often as they would have in previous years. So it's really going to be a challenge to keep a lot of these players motivated, or at least it seems like that's what we're seeing already. And as much as I hate to come back to harping on this, because I have talked about this in years past, and it looks like maybe it does continue to be a bit of an issue. But this is a situation where leadership really comes to the forefront of the issue. And I think that we do have to ask some questions about how Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, the two principal leaders of this team, are addressing situations like this. Because there's no doubt that it is, a very important part of the captain's job to make sure that the entire team shows up ready to play. And from what we saw last year, in the playoffs alone, really showed us, the crucial importance of having a team showing up ready to play. Last year we saw a few of these slow starts in the first round series against the LA Kings. The Edmonton Oilers almost didn't get out of that round. It's easy to look back at that playoff series, the last year's playoff run, and or rather say last season's playoff run, and take a look at that highlight of the whole thing, the victory over the Calgary Flames, where with the exception of Game 1 in that series, the Edmonton Oilers, they showed up ready to play on time, in the last 4 of those games, and the result was basically sweeping the Calgary Flames out of the playoffs. Once you eliminate the slow starts. And so it becomes painfully evident that for this team, those slow starts are the difference between victory or failure. And so this year, it seems to me that the narrative surrounding the team is that this year the Edmonton Oilers have gone all in. This year it is Stanley Cup or bust. The Edmonton Oilers, they went out and they re-signed and spent some money to bring back Evander Kane. They shed a little salary here and there by getting rid of guys like Zach Kassian. And then they added a couple pieces like Ryan Murray. And now they're pretty much right now, it is, this is supposed to be the year. Go to the Stanley Cup, or go back to the drawing board. And so with that in mind, this is the year that the Edmonton Oilers must succeed. They can't afford these slow starts. They need a team captain that is going to go in there and make sure that the entire team is ready to come flying out of the gate. And it seems like Connor McDavid is having some difficulty in getting that done. And I think that ironically, part of the reason for that is actually one of the things that makes him such a great player. And that is that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, they both seem to be players that look to themselves first. Which is great. It means that they're showing up and they're giving you their best all the time. They're taking responsibility for what they're doing on the ice. There was even an interview with Connor McDavid that I saw, or I think that actually maybe this one was with Leon Draisaitl, where he was talking about a conversation that he had with Connor McDavid, and he said to him basically, it's like, there's no reason why you shouldn't come out and score 60 goals this year. And apparently Connor McDavid just said to that, it's like, yeah, it's like, I could probably do that. I could do more for this team. But if you look at everything that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have done for this team, pretty much since their arrival, there isn't really very much more that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can do for this team. So they need to figure out a way now to make the players around them better. They've added enough players around them to make them a little bit better, and now they need to figure out a way to make the rest of the team better. Now they need to focus on getting the rest of the team to give a little bit more. And the best way to do that is not overly complicated. It is as simple as this. Get the team to show up to work on time. Get this team of millionaires. These people they're being paid millions of dollars per year, to play what is still basically supposed to be a child's game. Get them to do the thing that would, stop your welder on your industrial project, your construction site, God knows wherever, from being fired. Show up to work on time. And I would say that tonight, with the exception of maybe, one soft goal from Jack Campbell, I think that we saw the difference tonight. Definitely over, say, that game against Calgary. When you show up on time and you play the best hockey that you can from minute 0 of the first period, and you're not spotting teams, leads of 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, a lot of the rest of this will take care of itself by just doing that one little thing. Which really is just that one thing that everybody else has to do. With the exception of being millionaire hockey players, what is it with these guys that makes them think that they're so special that they don't have to show up to work on time? And it's so important that they do that, not just over the course of a single game, but over a course of an entire season. Because while you can't really make the playoffs in the first month of the season, you can definitely miss the playoffs in the first month of the season. And on this team, in this franchise, we have seen that, in years, a little bit more recent than we would like to than we would like to remember. I mean, personally, I like pretty much all of the guys on this team. I can't think of one guy on the 2022-23 edition of the Edmonton Oilers that I'm looking at, kind of growling, being like, yeah, I kind of wish this guy wasn't around. I look up and down that roster, I don't see that guy. I do like pretty much all of these players, but I'll tell you this much, I will definitely like them a lot better once they start showing up to play on time.